Welcome back to the Tim Weichselbaum Show. This is episode 36, and I am sitting here with your second in-studio guest for my podcast. It is a comedian named Jack Horner.
Yeah, dude, you know what this is?
And he's making fucking faces.
I'm looking at a fat pussy, bro.
What the? Oh, a fat one?
Wide pussy.
A fat pussy.
A fat, wide, smelly pussy, dude.
How many?
But I'm loving it.
So how many times have you been on a podcast?
Let's see here.
You
There was
have to
that
give
one
the
I
exact
did
answer.
with, I don't know if you've heard of him, Joe Rogan. That was pretty cool. Gwyneth Paltrow. I mean, I just call her Gwen. You know, we're bros.
Does she have a
I did
fucking
her
podcast?
podcast. But we just fucked. It was weird. You know what I'm saying? She was like, "Oh, I want you on my podcast to sell my goop." But then she was like, "I want your goop, John, because Chris Martin, my husband, the lead singer of Coldplay, has a tiny penis." You know, and it was crazy. That was a cool podcast. Let's see who else. Tim Dillon. You ever heard of Tim Dillon? Yeah, that was great. No, I'm just naming the most famous podcasters I've ever done. I honestly I've interviewed some people. I've been in your position before. I've never. I don't know how many times I've been the guest on one. I think never. This might be the first time I've ever been a guest. It's weird.
Yeah. We got a lot to talk about.
Awesome. Yeah.
So we were talking off the mic about how we were just trying to get to know each other a little bit. You're saying you're an Autist or an Autist.
Autist.
I've never heard anybody call themselves. I've heard it called, other people called that.
Yeah.
On 4chan. When did you adopt that label for yourself? It's like.
So I guess you haven't heard of my work on 4chan. You know, that's really where I got my start in comedy. It was amazing. Pepe the Frog, I think, is the Kermit of our generation. You know.
Are you actually a 4chan guy?
No, I've never fucking been on 4chan.
Hey, could be true. Everything you said.
Oh yeah, no,
checks out.
I seem like one of those fucking like people. I think you can see it in my eyes, just because I haven't had a lot of sex in my life. You know,
100%. You definitely seem like you have that
incel rage.
You have that look.
Yeah,
and demeanor of a 4chan.
Yeah,
but so do I'm not. That's not an insult. I'm just.
Yeah,
I'm just being honest. I do too.
I think that like I have like, if there's like a list of like 5 different categories that make like a 4chan guy, I have like 3 of them. You know, I feel like it's an introverted, bright, usually European Caucasian male that doesn't get a lot of sex, and then that not sex boils into rage. Can I tell you a bit I thought of that I think is amazing, but I just don't know how to do it on stage, and it's amazing because it's a good getting to know you bit. So it's like I can use incel rage like a cheat code in Mortal Kombat, you know, like some guy like is a dick to me in public, like cuts me off while I'm walking on the sidewalk, and I'm like, finish him. You go to the gym because you have a small penis, you know, shit like that. See, but you're like, no.
So, yeah.
But the whole phrase, like, I have incel rage, I use it like a cheat code in Mortal Kombat. That's kind of like my secret weapon. Like, you know, like I can get explosive. Like, I think it's good for a guy like me to be a little angry, you know? Like, I'm definitely too angry, but sometimes a little anger is like needed if you're in a confrontation.
Is this still part of the bit, or now you're just not talking?
Oh no, I'm just talking. I'm sorry.
The bit.
I'm sorry.
I like the bit. The premise. It's like that would be like the fatality.
Yeah. The fatality.
But anyway,
fatality.
But then you started talking about for real, like how you actually have like some sort of rage. And there is probably, like, we're probably, you know, a lot of men these days, a lot of short. Do you identify as short?
No. I mean, I think I'm average height. Like, I'm 5'7", 5'8".
I want to lump you into my fucking baggage.
But I mean, I'm short, like, then I think I actually, like, I appear shorter just because my posture's hunched. And no, I think it's the same, like, Napoleon complex thing. It's because it's being handicapped in the way that I am, and, like, the way that I walk is diminutive. In the same way being short is in a way. You know what I'm saying? I think there is like kind of a similarity there where it's like I feel like I have something to compensate for.
Yeah.
You know? Does that make any sense?
It does. And the word diminutive is a word that I would like to learn.
You've never been... is that a joke?
What does that mean? What is it?
Have you never heard the word...
I've heard it, but I don't know what it means.
Diminutive is
the
like...
The context made sense.
I think it's just... the same as small, more or less. It's a big word for small.
So anyway, I did want to seriously know about when you started calling yourself an autist? Is that something that, like, how often do you make it your identity? Like, how integral is your autism to your identity?
So I'm not actually autistic. You
Really?
know, I have like, so I'm a neurodivergent. I'm ADHD.
Okay.
Like, you know what I'm saying? And like, it's like sort of like, and I'm not like a psychologist. Like, I don't know how all that shit works, but like, there's certain like similar traits that like autists and ADHD people have. And I might be like an undiagnosed autistic. Like, I rock back and forth like a lot. So, okay, we just talked about shit that we have to like maybe edit out. But okay, we're not going to edit this out because this might be mean. And if this guy sees it, he's going to be like offended. But anyway, like I was hanging out with this autistic guy, right? And I was actually interviewing him for my podcast. And I was like, yo, you know, I think I might be autistic because I stim. And he's like, what's stimming? It's like, you know, it's like a repetitive action. It's like something like I rock back and forth like this, and I would listen to music. And I was like, do you do anything like that? Oh, and he's like, yeah, I think I know what you mean. I do this. And he just starts like waving his arms around like that. He started like waving his arms around like that for like a long time. And it's like, holy shit, okay, I'm not as autistic as I thought I was. Like, there's different levels. There's like rock, and then there's this shit, whatever it is. Yeah. But no, I don't actually think I'm autistic.
Even after that perfect example of why you probably are?
Yeah.
You still don't think 100%, you have it?
100%.
See, I would never tell somebody they're autistic. I hate when people do that.
Yeah.
Because people do that to me all the time. But I'm starting to, for myself, accept that I kind of hope I have it. It would explain some of my problems.
Yeah, like, do you, I'd be really surprised if you'd ever heard of this, but I was listening to an interview, and they brought up Jerry Seinfeld, and how apparently Jerry Seinfeld read a book that was an autobiography of a guy that had autism, and he, or had Asperger's rather, like the less serious one, and, like, and he talked about how, like, one of the main traits was, like, not being able to talk to people. And, like, people, like, I can't talk to people. And people, like, think it's weird, like, when I say that, because I appear very extroverted. And, like, I'm good at, like, I want to be nice to people. I want to spread love and, like, warmth and energy. I'm, like, one of those people. I try to be uplifting, you know? And, like, I'm good at saying, like, hey, how are you? How you doing, man? But beyond that shit, like, I can't do it. You know, at a certain point, I have a hard time like making conversation. Okay. You know, and like I brought that up to like the autistic guy that I was interviewing, and he kind of he's like, yeah, I know exactly what that is. Did you feel like you have that too?
Maybe not in the same way that you relate to. I get, but the not being able to talk to people is the most. That's like the most prominent thing that I would relate to with autism is like not being able to go up to people, not knowing how to do little things, like even just saying goodbye to people. Yeah. Like at open mics, I never say goodbye to anybody because I don't want to bother them. It's weird. It's a mixture of things.
No, same. No,
maybe it's not just autism. Like I know how to say goodbye to people. It's not that fucking hard. Just go, okay, I'm leaving. But like I just don't want to bother them with my own ego. Them carrying. I don't think they give a fuck about me enough.
Well, yeah, no, exactly. No, honestly, it's like, it's not that they don't give a fuck about me. It's that they give more of a fuck about what they're currently doing. And I don't want to interrupt that.
Yeah,
you know?
That's true.
That's it. It's like, yeah. And no, I literally said goodbye to nobody at like the Mueller Lake when I just left. I just left and like Victor, he was like, John, where? He said something like, yeah, where are you going, man? And I was like, see you, you know.
You didn't
like,
stop me.
Okay. I know one thing I'm really bad at.
I didn't give a fuck when I was.
Oh, I was going to say, one thing I'm really bad at is leaving conversations. Do you leave conversations without, like, meaning to? You know? Like, so it's like, someone will say something, then I'll say something else, and then they'll say something that wasn't a question, right? And then, okay, like, you didn't ask a question. There's no continuing of this conversation. I'm walking away, and you're a hot girl, and you kind of liked me. Not that we were going to fuck or anything like that, but I could tell you kind of liked me. And now I'm fucking weird, you know?
So small talk is what you're talking about, kind of getting at.
Oh, yeah.
Struggle with that.
Uh-huh.
Dude, me too. It's tough. Yeah. I don't know if I'm that rigid where I just like walk away the second they don't ask a question. Like it sounds like you're very logic-based. Yeah,
no, and it's not that, like, it's not that extreme, but I feel like it's something I do a lot. And I don't know because no one's ever brought it up to me. This is something that I like speculate that I do. I'm not sure how much of a problem it actually is, because really to analyze your own social interactions, you can't do that, right? Because that's all completely based on perception. You're like other people's perception of you, not your perception of yourself, right? That's always going to be flawed.
Yeah, maybe. I think sometimes you can analyze your own social interaction. Just be like, what did I do that was weird? What did I do that I should have not done for my own benefit? So I don't feel like I got taken advantage of. There's many examples of like where I just am like very generous to other people if I don't want to have confrontation. Like if somebody asks me for something and I am afraid to be like rejecting them. I don't know. I look back at my own social interactions all the fucking time. And I go, oh, I should have not done that. I should have done this. Should have been more assertive is usually the bottom line.
Yeah. No, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Not assertive.
Yeah, no, me neither. Like, I want to be nice, and like, and I don't mind, like, the term doormat. Like, I don't mind being a little bit of a doormat. I don't mind a friendship where it's maybe a little bit more one-sided, but I definitely don't express myself enough. You know, and when people like cross that line, I should say something more, you know, instead of just like letting it boil. Cause like, I'm the guy that, you know, have you heard my joke? Like, I'm just like everybody else. I drive to work in the morning and imagine stabbing my 8th grade bully to death going, who's the bitch now? Like, so that's based on like a real thing where it's like I'm kind of a daydreamer. I'm kind of an imaginative person. And I spend a lot of time just like saying what I really wanted to fucking say, you know? Like, can I tell you something I was just thinking about? So, like I have this friend who, like, I'm not a good driver, but I have this friend who just freaks the fuck out. Like every time he gets in the car with me, and I'm giving him a ride somewhere. I'm not charging him gas. Like I'm doing him a favor. And I've lived in Austin for 6 months and I haven't gotten into a fucking car wreck. You know, no, it hasn't happened yet. I know how to get from point A to point B. And like the way that you're acting as a passenger is going to cause an accident. You know, that like when people are that oblivious, it's like if you're fucking screaming every time I like slam the brakes or whatever, it's like, dude, you're freaking out. And it's like I should say something about it, you know? Like
that's the worst.
But yeah, it's like that, like that's disrespectful. Like don't do that, you know?
Oh, dude, yeah, backseat drivers, even if you are a bad driver, it still pisses you off. Even if it's warranted.
Yeah.
I still go, hey, if you're in my car, you gotta accept my late braking and my my mistakes. No, I'm trying to be a better driver myself. I'm not. Everyone makes, not everybody, but I make dumb mistakes sometimes. I'm not the best driver, but yeah, I can't tolerate people doing that.
Yeah, no, it's unacceptable. Like I just feel like people kind of push me around, like what we're talking about, and it's like, dude, I'm gonna take it out on the wrong person one day. Like, I'm gonna fucking, like, dude, like, if, like, I have enough of those backseat driver experiences, like 5 in a row, and then I'm at my store and a customer comes in, and why do I have to pay the $35 activation fee? Hey, pay the fucking $35 activation fee, okay? Any other store you went to, charge you that shit, okay? We all do it. It's a corporate policy, so quit bitching, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's gonna happen. Like, I'm gonna direct it at the wrong person. And then,
have you never done that yet? You've never like whatever the word is, blown up on somebody or snapped at somebody?
Yeah, no, I have a lot. Yeah, sure. Yeah, no, that's why I think I'm gonna do it again. Yeah,
you're gonna do it again.
I'm about to do it right now. I'm tired of this fucking shit, Tim.
Yeah, you're sorry that I'm not as energized as like I'm very like, mellow at the moment. I took mushrooms earlier.
Oh wow,
so I'm over that. Like I'm very back to normal baseline.
Yeah, but have you slept yet?
Well, I slept last night.
Okay, but not since the trip like ended.
Oh no, that was just literally just before I saw you. Like I saw you at the mic.
Okay.
Yeah.
I never feel right.
Took a small amount, very small amount.
Like a gram or something like that.
Oh, less than that. A gram would have been too much to be on in public.
Yeah.
I like to take just enough where I just feel slight something.
Microdosing. Right
it's more than micro.
Yeah.
Micro, you don't feel it.
Yeah, or it just makes everything seem shinier or whatever the fuck.
Micro, yeah, you're not supposed to feel it at all. This would be more than that. But microdosing, I'm too lazy to do. It's like I want to feel something. I want to just take something and have it supposedly work in the background. No, I like to actually feel the mushrooms doing something.
Can I like? And do you mind if I vape? Is that cool?
I mean, hey, yeah, I'm not gonna stop you from vaping a little thing in here. That's not a problem.
Sorry, guys. I don't know if you knew I was this badass, just vaping. You know what I'm saying? I'm a rock star.
So we covered a big topic. We covered autism. I think it's a good heavy thing. It's not heavy.
So can I talk to you about like mushrooms and like psychedelics and all that stuff?
I brought it up.
So I don't. Here's the thing. Like I'm sober, and it was like I was sober for about 9 months. And then when I moved to Austin, I kind of slipped a little bit and started drinking. Nothing major, but like, you know, I just wasn't sober anymore. And I kind of felt like shit because you're on like a good run. Like I'm sober every day and I'm crushing it. And like, I have like this productivity app and it's like, yeah, I'm doing it. Yeah. You know, and then I kind of slipped and I started drinking again. And you know what, like with Austin traffic being what it is, and just like the fact that I live like 20 minutes away from my apartment, you know, it's like you really can't afford to like have a couple of drinks and then get behind the wheel. Like even if I'm not over the limit, it's just like I'm not doing that. Like, you know, I'm not even.
What do you
like,
mean you live 20 minutes from your apartment? What did you
like,
mean? What
so
did you mean to say?
most like live. I'm sorry, like the club's 20 minutes from my apartment.
Okay, so
my
where
bad.
you mostly get drunk is 20
Yeah,
minutes. That's what I thought.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I just fucked up.
I get what you meant. I don't know
yeah,
why I
no,
had to
thank you for calling me out on that because
so it is. I get where you're going, or I get what you're saying. So far.
I'm sorry, I'm so fucking happy right now.
It's so hard to not drink when you're going out to comedy clubs.
And like, I'm sober again, and I've thought a lot about like just my relationship with drugs and how that like influenced me. So when I was a kid, you know, I did like the typical shit, like, you know, I don't want to say what, but like, you know, smoked a lot of pot. You know, like if there's like a universe, like or multiple universes, you know, this is like Stoner John, you know. And like, yeah, like that's kind of like, that's like sort of the path I took. Like when I was 15, I started smoking weed and, you know, all throughout my 20s. And then did a lot of some psychedelics, pretty decent amount. And I feel like I've had some good experiences and I've had some things happen that needed to happen, you know, and like I've had some conclusions, you know, or I've reached some conclusions while I was tripping rather that were great. But I feel like overall, like the fact that I kind of started smoking weed young and like all those psychedelics were very like a net negative on my life, you know. And I'm sorry, I know that you've been like tripping today. I don't want to be like a downer.
No, this podcast, one of the themes is sobriety.
Yeah,
that's why I started it actually, because I became sober 8 months ago.
Yeah, and
that's when I decided to do this podcast.
Yeah, and like so
that's not a downer at all.
Yeah, and I just feel like I was like, I mean, I was a lazy, spoiled brat, you know, like, and I feel like pot really like killed my ambition, you know, like it wasn't good. Yeah. And also like it put me in like a lot of situations where like my friend group wasn't really my friends, you know, like, I mean, I'm kind of like, we talked about it, like I'm a doormat, you know, I'm the guy that everybody wants to like, hey John, can you come pick us up and like deliver these drugs over to the other side of town and fucking like, you know what I'm saying? Or something like that. Or like, hey man, can you come smoke us up? Like, you know, and it's just like over and over again, and you never come smoke me up, you know? But again, have you ever had someone get mad at you because you don't smoke them up and you've smoked them up like 1 billion times?
Mad at me? Yeah, well, that is usually a psychopath that does that.
Yeah, well,
but yes, I've been
entitled people.
I've been around people like that.
Yeah, entitled.
I still am around people like that in the comedy in Austin. I've met people that are so bad.
Oh yeah.
I keep thinking I'm not going to meet people or that I'm immune to it or something, but no. So you're just not smoking weed?
Yeah, no, I'm not smoking weed. I switched to CBD, like, cause that kind of like helps with the urge to smoke pot. And like, yeah, I just feel like, you know, it, like if you try to ingratiate yourself into a friend group where you're kind of like the guy that everybody uses, like over time, like that really has an effect on you. And again, like, I just think it was mostly negative. Like, I regret not doing well in high school. Like, I graduated with a 1.9 GPA, like, and I'm fine. I'm here. Like, did it ruin my life? Maybe not necessarily, but no, I wish I would have done better. Like, my grandparents, I was very close with them. Like, I don't have any cousins on, like, that side of the family. And just, like, when they passed away, it's just, like, where my life was at. Like, I was just kind of ashamed, like, I've never been in, like, a serious relationship, didn't have a family, didn't have a great job, like, and it's just like, yeah, I'm just a stoner, like, and I drink.
When was this?
So this was, like, when they passed away. It was a couple of years ago. Like,
a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And how old are you now?
I'm 30. I'm going to be 31 in, like, a couple of weeks, yeah.
So you made this realization, or this part of your life, you made this chapter of your life, you wanted to make a change to get out of it.
Yeah.
To wanted to turn over a new leaf.
Mm-hmm.
And then you moved to Austin about how long? 6 months ago?
January 18th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, you're that new.
Yep.
I mean, I'm only a year, so that's not much longer. I just I don't know. It's always interesting.
Yeah. And I just feel like that's the other thing that's hard about sobriety. I'm sure you can relate to this. Like, a lot of people smoke pot, like, and I don't.
It's so normalized.
And I don't want to do that, like.
It's so weird not to smoke pot.
Yeah.
If you're a comedian, or drink, or do anything.
Yeah.
But I don't do mushrooms just to fit in. I do it because it fucking works.
Right on.
I would never I would never force drugs onto somebody, but I would definitely, like, pressure them. I'd be like, please, can we do, like, my younger brother's coming into town in a month, and I'm definitely going to pressure the fuck out of him to do mushrooms with me because I love doing them, and I just want to do them with somebody that I relate to, that I can hang out with. It's so hard to find somebody that you are on the same wavelength with, and that kind of is what you're kind of talking about a little bit with the friend group.
Yeah.
They're using you. I don't know. It's very hard to find good people, especially in the comedy world. Yeah,
and it's like, I also think, like, that there's an aspect of growth in realizing that no one's perfect, and sometimes I'm not good people either. That's what I have to remind myself of. Like, I kind of realized that, like, my so-called low self-esteem is really actually reverse narcissism. Like, that's what it is. It's like, oh, I think everybody's talking about me and everybody's hating on me because, of course, they're talking about me. Those stupid fucks, because I'm awesome. It's like that's really what it is, Like, I think that's the true nature of a lot of it. Do you have that, like, paranoia, like, people are talking about you and shit?
I definitely know what you mean when you say it's like reverse narcissism to have low self-esteem. Like, one bad thing could ruin my self-confidence as a person.
Yeah.
What are you looking for? You look very frazzled.
No. I'm just
okay, you're
like,
looking
what?
Around. Like,
no.
Okay,
I'm sorry. See, like, I'm sorry. I'm, like, weird, man.
Sorry, but I do
person
relate to that. I think I do. Yeah, that feeling of, like, people talking about you when they're not. But you think, I don't know. That might be something. Nice.
Yeah. Do you ever struggle with this? That fucking noise right there, man. I get, like, I got kind of addicted to anger. Like that rush you get when you get super fucking mad and and, like, and that's one thing I've noticed about sobriety, where, like, there's things that I used to think about, like, every day. And here's one that I'll talk about. Like, so there was a time when I really liked this girl. I really pursued her hard. I watched fucking Vampire Diaries for this girl. You know what I've realized about Vampire Diaries season 1? It's 24 episodes, each 1 hour long. That's a day of my life I'm never going to get back. Fucking never. It's not possible. But anyway, I liked her. I fucking watched Vampire Diaries for her. I finally got her to come to a party with me, and then she went out with this other guy. And after telling me that, like, oh, I'm just into somebody else, like, obviously just, like, messing with me, and I get it, by the way. Like, you've been around me, like, what, 10, 20 minutes now. You get why she might not want to date the weirdo that walks with the limp. Like, I can see it now, but I used to just think about that a lot and get pissed. Like, you know, that kind of became like a crutch of like, yeah, that fucking bitch and that fucking dude, and I'm fucking awesome, and I'm smarter and more interesting than that bitch. Yeah, you know, and just like that kind of cycle. But when I became sober, like about 3 or 4 months in, it just really struck me how I never thought about it, you know, or just way less, you know, like, yeah. And
sober for what drug was it that was making you have those thoughts?
So the only
weed
things
or the booze.
No, well, those are the only 2 things I've ever done. I've definitely always been more of a pothead than a
Because
drinker.
what about becoming sober would make you not hate women anymore?
It's not that. It's just like I'm thinking clearly. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm completely clear, and I'm really able to more focus on what's around me. You know, and I think like when my mind is fogged up, you know, that's when it's easier to kind of like latch onto those base kind of id emotions, you know, like I just feel like it kind of taps into my higher consciousness when I'm like sober. And like, the other thing is like I was raised by pretty strong Christians, and I call myself a Christian. Like I go to church, like it's like a ritual I do. I like it, you know. I want to convert you to Jesus. Yeah, I'm just kidding. Yeah, no,
I'm fine with Jesus.
Yeah, no, but like seriously though, and like I mean I say fuck and like I mean and whatnot, and I don't know about like some of the stories in the Bible. I'm not an apologist. Maybe that didn't happen. Maybe some things are I don't know, but like I think one thing that I should hold true to is sobriety. You know, and am I just rambling? Because I can keep talking for a little bit.
Just thinking about what topic to dissect that you just talked about. As many topics. Like,
I guess
we're still talking about sobriety a little bit. I think that's the main thing we're kind of still touching on. But I guess the point is, there's not a lot of Christian comedians too.
Yeah, and
not a lot of that.
I'm not a Christian comedian. Like my comedy is not Christ friendly, but I am a comedian who happens to be Christian and does dirty comedy. Yeah, but like yeah, like, and that's just me as a person, as an individual. Like, you know, like I'm a Christian individual. Because here's the thing, like the so-called clean comedy, and I think there's all kinds of funny comedy, but like, if you like think about the people that are in the Bible, they're all very strong personalities. You know what I'm saying? Like very assertive and very fucking like wired off, like off-wired or whatever I'm trying to think of. You know, just like you know, like you think those people were afraid to say fuck? You know, like I don't understand it. I think people's like values are completely warped when it comes to that. You know, and I guess for me, like, how I want to be Christian or how I want to incorporate my religion into comedy is just being positive ultimately. Like, you know, I don't want to be divisive, you know, I don't want to make anybody feel bad about themselves, you know, like, yeah. What
about being Christian means you can't curse? I mean, I know you can't use the Lord's name in vain, but where does it say you can't use profanity?
Yeah, it says coarse language, but I'm right there with you, man. Like, yeah, and I understand not being able to curse in church, that's fair, or like whatever. But yeah, as a comedian, it's like I don't feel like my comedy necessarily contradicts my faith. But that's what I'm saying. Like, I just saying fuck doesn't make me less of a Christian.
Gotcha. Yeah, cursing is pretty light on the list of sins, I think. Yeah. And sure. And if you're a comedian, I think there's many other temptations to that you got to resist besides profanity, or even just anything you say on stage is fine, I think. Even if it's bad and even if it is divisive, I would defend divisive comedy if it's funny.
So and so I want to ask you, because like, you know, this is a comedy podcast a little bit. So I want to ask you like about the nature of comedy. Like, so Jerry Seinfeld on Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee said something very interesting, because like it was on the idea of like comedians being philosophers. And he said, a comedian's never changed my mind on an issue except on whether or not I think he's funny. Like, that's the only like thing that a comedian's ever changed my mind on. And that's what I want to do. I want to be funny. Like, I would rather entertain people than make them think. And I don't think that they're mutually exclusive, or, you know, like, I think you can do both at the same time. But like people like Carlin, you know, Lenny Bruce, Bill Hicks, it's like, that's not really my, like, again, people are like, I'm not saying they're bad, but in terms of what I'm going for, like actual set up punchline jokes, like Norm Norm Macdonald, like he was a master at that. Like, and like whenever like comedians ask me for advice, that's kind of what I say. Like those throwaway jokes, that bump, bump, you know, I feel like people should focus on that more, you know? Yeah. What are your
throwaway
thoughts?
jokes? They should focus on
Like just more, I guess, traditional jokes. Like people call them
set up
throwaway
punch.
jokes.
Oh,
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
So I mean, you got to know where the punchlines are in your set. If it's a final, like, any comic needs to know what a punchline is and where they are and how many they have in each joke or bit to be a professional, or else they're just shooting in the dark, stab in the dark. So I agree with that. That basic thing that you gotta have a setup and punchline to be funny, to be a comic.
Well, since I've moved to Austin, I feel like I've just noticed a lot of like opinion-based comedy, kind of. You know what I'm saying?
So
like,
where did you move from? I didn't get there.
Missouri, man.
Missouri.
We
So
didn't
where
do
in Missouri?
Springfield.
And that's where's that in the state?
So it's in the Ozarks. It's like
Nice.
the southwest
So
corner.
pretty fucking rural.
Yeah. I went to I graduated high school from a town called Rogersville, Missouri.
Awesome.
Dude,
I've been to the Ozarks. I stayed on a farm in an Airbnb, just on a fucking farmhouse, and it was just so fucking remote and beautiful.
Yeah, that's the one thing about Austin, man. I don't think it's as pretty as where I'm from. That's for
Probably
sure.
not as the Ozarks.
Yeah.
Nah. I mean, Hill Country's okay.
Yeah.
But the Ozarks are better.
I don't know. Like I think I'm starting to miss it. That's a part of it too. Like, because I've just been kind of down lately.
It's not too far of a drive, right? It's like what, 8 hours?
Yeah.
I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, 8-9 hours. That's pretty fucking far, man.
I know. I've just driven all the way to Chicago. So for me, they'd be like, that's only halfway to Chicago. That's nothing.
Oh.
'Cause I've done Chicago in one day or one stretch without sleeping. But anyway, so Missouri. So you're from the rural parts of the world, the country that a lot of people don't like to talk about because they're afraid of Trump support. They're afraid of Republicans. They're afraid of abortion.
No, they're
Missouri
not afraid
was in the news yesterday for becoming for banning abortion automatically. It's now illegal to get an abortion after a certain point.
Yeah, I mean, so
Missouri.
Springfield. So the town I went to high school in is like a small town. It's like 5,000 people, and then Springfield is a place that has like 4 or 5 small towns surrounding it. You know, I'm from like one of those little small like town enclaves. But Springfield itself is a somewhat decent sized city. It's the 3rd biggest city in Missouri. It's like 150K people. You know, it's like a small city. So that's not, I wouldn't say Springfield itself is very rural, but it is a bubble. Like, and honestly, like I grew up with like a lot of racism. Like, you know, like,
Sure.
like I remember one time, like this was after Obama got elected. I was a junior in high school. I'll never forget this. We had this old substitute teacher. I'm not actually, we called him by his first name, so maybe I won't get to it, but his name we called him Mr. Bill. I'm not going to say Bill who, but anyway, this was after Obama got elected. He's like this 70-year-old white dude, right? And he's like, and you could tell he was pissed about it. And he was like, hey, Caleb, like lock the door, right? And he tells a joke where he dropped the N-word 9 times. And he didn't say N-word. Like, he actually said the word. And this is like in a high school classroom. And he's the substitute teacher. And, like, the reaction of, like, the kids, you know, like, a lot of them, like, wanted to defend him because, like, racism was, like, a casually accepted thing, you know? And, like, that's part of why I moved to Austin is to outgrow that. You know, like, not that I'm like racist, but I'm from a town or a part of the country where it is kind of like that, you know, and I need to expand my horizons.
Yeah.
You know,
a lot of people move from their hometowns for that reason. They're ashamed of their cultural upbringing.
Yeah.
And their parents and like their family members so they have to move to a liberal place. Like Chicago was like that. Mm-hmm. Where I'm from, the scene of Chicago, the comedy scene was mostly people that moved there from other places, not country, other fucking shitty states, and they just complain. Their whole act, which you kind of touched on with the whole opinionated thing. People are opinionated. They just complained about Republicans and how they hate their dad. Mm-hmm. And they just are so they were so like left wing to the point where it was like very scary, like not scary, but like, I mean, I wasn't afraid of them.
Yeah.
At least they weren't gonna like shoot me or anything, but like they were definitely not fun to be around.
Like no, like they're kind of like the contradictory left, where it's like I'm totally open to like discussion and everything like that, unless you say something against people that I support or that I like, then I'm fucking triggered, you know.
Yeah, it's rare to meet one of them that would discuss anything.
And there are people like that out there. There's that element of the left out there, but that's a part of my growth in like the last couple of years. It's like political correctness. It's like I want to make everybody laugh. You know what I'm saying? Like, again, that kind of goes back to like what we were talking about a second ago. It's like, no, I'd rather be funny than like challenge people and like,
exactly.
And it's like, and at what point, like, because people talk about comedy and free speech, right? And like, I was just thinking about this driving over to Mueller. Like, what is the line between, it's like, okay, so someone can hinder a comedian's free speech by getting him to lose sponsors, but if that's because a bunch of people went to Twitter and said that comedian sucks, like that offended me, aren't they exercising their free speech? And by the way, aren't advertisers, if they drop somebody, they're exercising their free speech too, right? It's like, it kind of seems like a little bit one-sided to say you should support comedians and their free speech, but really, if they suffer ramifications for something they said, and I'm not saying that this is what I think or I believe 100%, but I just think it's an interesting topic. If they're suffering ramifications for something they said, like, isn't that like also a byproduct of someone else like exercising their free speech, you know?
Or freedom of association, freedom of just being a business person. Any sponsor, any company, of course, has the right to stop doing business, break end business with a client that they deem. Yeah, that's just freedom.
Yeah,
of commerce.
Exactly.
Whatever you call it, free market.
Like when a certain comedian got in trouble for using the N-word on his podcast. I don't know if you want to mention his name, but okay, can I say
Joe Rogan?
Yeah, Joe Rogan. Okay, I don't know if you're trying to like buddy
this
up
is
to him.
You could talk about it.
Yeah,
like it happened.
It's like I get like they paid him $100 million. Like, I get where they're coming from. Like, he agreed to the terms and conditions of the deal. They paid him a shitload of money. And it's not like I don't think they maybe should have done a little bit more research. And, like, if they really had a problem with that, maybe they shouldn't have done the deal. I kind of get that side of it. But I also get where they're coming from. It's like, I don't know if I would want that on my fucking platform if it's just some white dude like dropping the N-word because it's such a fun word to say and anybody can say it. Because no, I had a substitute teacher in high school that used that word for real. Like, you know, it's like, no, I think it's ignorant for white people to use that word, you know, even in the context that he was doing it.
We could talk about that, just that question, that thing you just said, or white, you know, is it ignorant for a white person to say that word? That's a topic in and of itself. That's a whole discussion. But then the topic of people not wanting to sponsor a podcast based on what they said. Yeah, that's free. That's something that that's not really a controversial thing. Of course, they could drop if you're a comedian, that doesn't exempt you from business consequences.
I agree, but you don't think that's a controversial point for a comedian to take?
That you can't,
like that the sponsor shouldn't stick by their comedian no matter what, and
but they shouldn't,
they should stick.
It would be controversial. It'd be weird.
You know,
I wouldn't agree that they should stick with a comedian just because they're a comedian. That means nothing. What does that mean? Big whoop.
Okay,
nothing sacred about it.
It seems like we're on the same page, but I feel like a lot of people would have like a real umbrage with that. Like, I bet when you post this, someone's going to be like, hey man, fucking Rogan's going to be able to do whatever the fuck he wants and blah, 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 you know?
No, and I mean, like, the second he signed a contract with a corporation, there's going to be little things that could happen. They could want to not do business. It's simple to me, and I thought he was kind of selling out by taking the Spotify deal. 100%. I said that, like, well, he's kind of losing favor with his audience. His core audience is not going to want to go to this platform that's going to censor him and make him be a pussy about his opinions. Not that he's really been doing that.
Yeah.
He hasn't really censored himself. but they've been taking down episodes of past guests, and he hasn't been having as good of. I think the content quality has gone down, and I think his relevancy has gone down.
Absolutely.
And the Spotify deal was the start of that.
Absolutely. No, because it's only like available on a specific platform. Yeah. And it's not a platform that everybody uses automatically like YouTube.
The podcast just doesn't have as much hype as it did when it was on YouTube. Yeah. When those episodes would just drop on YouTube or get millions of views. I don't think it just doesn't have as much cachet as it did back in a couple of years ago.
It's kind of like what happened. I don't know. Do you know who Howard Stern is?
Who?
Howard Stern.
Howard Stern, yes.
Like when he went to Sirius, it's the same thing. Like,
pretty much.
Like he made a shitload of money.
Pretty much. He was still good for a little while on Sirius. Like up until Artie Lang left like 2010, that's when it got downhill. Yeah. And now he's like a super lefty, boring, like he's just interviews celebrities and panders to his not interesting anymore.
And I think he's a great interviewer.
He is.
There's a lot of interviews clips that I can still watch and stuff.
No,
you're absolutely right. And it's really interesting because like what happened to him is something I'm kind of afraid of for myself, where he was somebody who was really unpopular in high school, and kind of a loser and didn't fit in, and now he's trying to fit in with that crowd. He's trying to be cool. That's what it is. Like, and have you heard of Artie Lang's analysis of him? Like I don't know.
Like a recent one?
No, it was it's like the one that I'm thinking of is like a few years old.
I'm sure I have. I've consumed pretty much everything they've put out about each other.
Yeah. It's the one where like Artie's on Opie's radio show, Opie, without Anthony, talking about him. And then there's another one where Artie's talking about him with Jackie. Jackie Martling, yeah. By the way, Howard Stern, though, I just want to say, if there's anybody who I want to be in my head, Howard Stern's definitely a part of it. Like I used to put out like YouTube live streams and shit, and like a lot of people would say, "Oh yeah, I hear Howard Stern." Like, yeah, dude. I mean, I definitely love that guy.
I mean, he was so great when in the '90s when he was famous, when he was most popular. There's a reason. That's why people talk about how they're so upset that he kind of became less edgy over time, is because they were fans of him.
Yeah.
Like most people who were influenced by him. Mm-hmm. Many comedians were on that show, and that was like a great way to get exposure as a comedian. Now it means nothing, I don't think, to be.
Yeah, I would still love to be there. But
I'm sure it means something still. Yeah. But not like it did back in the early 2000s. That's when it was the best for me, when Artie Lang was on there doing heroin.
Yeah.
And they would have all this drama happen. He was so good at like milking drama. And Sal Governale.
Yeah, dude. That Sal guy's nuts, man. Dude, that Sal
That's the
fucking
best
creeps
radio
me out.
ever,
yeah.
though.
Yeah. Have you seen the one where he hypnotizes Sal and Richard?
Yeah.
That's the
I've seen everything from the 2000s with Sal, because it was everything you could rewatch it. It's the most has so good rewatch value.
My favorite interview of all time. Have you seen the Henry Hill one?
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, that was a good one.
So good because like he's the subject of that movie like Goodfellas, and it makes it seem badass.
Was crazy, yeah.
But just how broken he is.
He was, yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know if like the listeners I'll give some context to the listeners out there. What's up, listeners? So Henry Hill was the focus of the movie Goodfellas. Came out in 1990, directed by Martin Scorsese, cinema classic. And he was the real person, and he came into the Howard Stern show just blackout drunk, And that part where he talks about like how he like killed those people, and like and you can just tell it's like there's no happiness, like I'm a void of a human being. It's like, oh, that was so powerful, like it's like I get goosebumps like thinking about it,
I was just thinking about that actually, because I saw a Ray Liotta interviewed on something by Larry King or whatever. Anyway, interviewing is a skill. But anyway, we got a lot to cover still.
Oh, sorry.
So man. I do want to actually ask you some things that didn't just come up organically, because this podcast is comedy, stand-up related. It's about stand-up. It's about the struggle of being a comedian. And one of the things that we've both done recently is appear on another podcast called Kill Tony.
What's up?
And that's a pretty big podcast. It's one of the more popular comedy podcasts.
Yeah.
And so we both did it for the first time this past few months. You did it about a month ago?
3 weeks, I think. 3 weeks, a month ago, something like
Okay.
that. So
I saw the episode and I saw your appearance. You did very well.
yeah.
And a few things happened. Like, first of all, like, I don't know, you could say whatever, but he was like, he gave you a lot of good compliments.
Yeah, and you know, it was like one of those experiences where like adrenaline was like a big part of it, you know, and I didn't really remember it.
That's right.
Like
we talked about that actually.
Until I watched the video. It's like, oh yeah, like when he said like, "You're the best bucket pull I've ever had." Like obviously that's horse shit, but nice thing to say. It's like, oh man, he said that, you know, and like the fact that I got the secret show on my first appearance, you know, like it was very affirming, a very big deal. Like you talked about in another episode that I watched, just like how like humiliation's kind of a part of it.
Of Kill Tony?
And like how you don't want to be.
Taking the roasts.
And I think like part of the reason I've been so depressed since Kill Tony, and this is like the heavy stuff that I want to talk about, because like when that video got released, it just didn't feel like it should.
So let's break it down. So you first, let's go through the whole arc. So first you wanted to just do Kill Tony. First you had to sign up for it multiple times. How many times did you have
that was my second time.
Okay, that's not bad. I remember seeing you a week before or something, 2 weeks before you got up, something like that. You were in line, and you were saying that you were like anxious, that you had this feeling of like I forget how you put it, but basically how you just described it, how you had like this anxiety, or like what is the word for adrenaline? Adrenaline, fight or flight. And so anyway, talk about the experience itself of hearing your name called and going up there.
So, Kill Tony, for people who don't know, it's more or less like a very uncomfortable experience. Like if you're a comedian, like they make you stand in the back, and you got to put your phone away, you know, and you're standing like inches away from like 50 other people. That's a little bit of an exaggeration. It's hot as fuck, and like you have to stay standing for the most part, and it gets really old, you know, and I bring that up like to where I just want to get the fuck out of here. Like I'm tired, like that kind of anger like that I had, or that kind of like indignation maybe is a better word. Like I feel like that really helped, because like it's like I don't owe these motherfuckers anything for them making me do this, you know, and like and that specific night, like it was, I think 2 people had already gone up, 2 or 3. And he said, "Oh, this sounds like a fake name." And I was like, dude, that's not fucking me. Like, you know what I'm saying? Jack Horner. And I was like, fuck. And, you know, and I just ran up there. And one of my biggest like strengths as a comedian is energy. Like, you know, and specifically though, like when I'm nervous, I get energetic, you know, like I like to think of myself as like, if there's like a plane going down, you know what I'm saying? Like the one guy that gets like, oh my God, and starts crying like a bitch. Like that's probably me. But as like a comedian though, like it's a really big like asset. And it just like kicked in, you know, and like I went up there and I did like one of my better jokes, you know, that like one of the jokes that I'm really proud of. And then the interview went really well, you know. The one thing I really regret about the interview is like he said, "You work for a phone company. I assume it's not Sprint." And I wish I would have been like, no, actually, it's T-Mobile. T-Mobile. Missed opportunity there. That's one of my bigger regrets, you know?
I think I'm retarded because I don't get it.
T-Mobile?
Yeah, I don't get the joke.
So like I said, I told him I work for a phone company.
Yeah, I got that.
And then I said, I guess it's not Sprint because I can't sprint. I'm crippled.
I remember that.
And then
T-Mobile.
T-Mobile. So T-Mobile is a phone company.
Yeah.
T-Mobile because I can't move.
Ah. Yeah, I don't know if that, because I don't know if the fact that I needed that explained to me.
No,
either I'm really dumb or that just isn't obvious enough of a punchline. I don't know. Maybe I'm just dumb. But yeah, I know what you mean,
no,
though.
like
The feeling of, oh, I should have said this.
Well, no, you actually just made me feel way better about the fact
who
that I didn't
knows?
say
You never know
it.
if it's going to work in the moment, especially on Kill Tony. But you were doing great, though.
Yeah.
You got so many laughs during the interview with your own, with jokes.
Yeah.
So how did you feel? So I thought you did really good. How did you feel after you got off stage? Did you
Elated.
feel like a good afterglow?
Elated, yeah, because I got to see, like I got the secret show, and it hit me that like I just did something that people are gonna see, and every time I've ever posted something online, like I got something that was like 500 hits once, and it was like, oh my gosh, yeah, like, and it was like, no, but people are gonna fucking see this, like, and it felt so good, and like, and it just like really like affirmed to me that I can do this, like I'm not saying that I'm great at it yet, but I can do it, and it felt so good, and the fact that I got the secret show felt so good, and the respect I got from other comedians felt really good too, and then the secret show also went really well. Like just like
10 minutes,
8 minutes, and I was the first to go up, and I'm really thankful for that because I was a nervous fucking wreck, like just like dude, like Kill Tony like times 10, like because I was like excited, and then like second by second, like the anxiety just started creeping up, and I wasn't like talking to anybody.
How often do you do 8 minutes? Like, do you have like a nice polished 8-minute set? Because that could be a reason you're nervous because you're not used to doing shows.
Yeah, like I'm not somebody that prepares, and I'm always, because I don't prepare and I don't really think it through that much. And since I moved to Austin, I've gotten better at it, just like recording and just writing down my heavy hitters. But just in general, I don't do that. That's one.
Also, I remember you saying you only had done stand-up 100 times.
And in reality, before I'd started that list, I'd probably done it like maybe 30 more times before that. And
even so, that explains. Okay, yeah, I'd be pretty nervous for an 8-minute opening that show for sure.
And the other thing was. So I've done like a fairly decent amount of shows, especially for someone who's as new into it as I am. And the one thing I've noticed, and other comedians have brought this up to me, like there's a real difference between open mics and shows, because open mics are 80% other comedians, and you can do the LaQuisha joke and things like that, and it gets a laugh because they're kind of more out there, But shows where it's the average person, they're like, what the fuck is this, And like whenever I do a show, it's always just a little bit awkward, It's just obvious that I'm kind of a nascent comedian, Okay. And I just thought like it's gonna be a what the fuck is this in front of Brian Redband and hundreds of people, and it's like this is like go big or go home, And I went up there and I did the LaQuisha joke, and then I added like a tag onto it where so the joke is you don't have to do it. But anyway, but
it was good.
Yeah, but
no, it's good.
Sorry, but I added this tag, and the tag got a bigger laugh, and I just relaxed, and it's like
wow. So you opened on that?
Yeah,
that's great. So that loosened you up. And then you just had fun for the rest of the set.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
And it's just like, dude, like this might not be the best set ever, but you're not gonna bomb. Like that's what it was. It was
once
just
you hit that first laugh.
Yes,
once you got that first.
It's like like you can talk on stage for 8 minutes. Like you can do this. You're fine. And the other thing was there's a timer. Like I don't know if I'm like supposed to reveal.
I love that room. I love doing that room for those reasons that you just mentioned.
Yeah.
Or the one reason you just mentioned. There's a timer. Yeah. And it's a great fucking room. It's the best stage to be on.
But like after that though, I've just been really depressed.
So let's get there. So secret show went great.
Yeah.
Did you get any feedback from Red Band?
Like he just asked how it went.
He
And
didn't.
then,
He asked you how it went.
Well, yeah, because he
Hey,
just
how'd
said,
you
like,
do? And you just say whatever you want.
Yeah, well,
oh,
no.
dude, I crushed.
But I did though. Like, I mean, I feel like I did. It was like it was just
So
really
what'd you
well.
tell him?
Like, no, I was like, it was really well, and I was like, the crowd's really nice.
Yeah.
Is what I said.
Yeah.
And it was just like, you know, like I was so proud of myself. It's like, yeah, like again, like holy, like that's a landmark. You know?
Did you take advantage of the fact that you were a comedian? Did you like wander around? Did you hang out in the green room?
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, no, I
That's
hung out in
part of the
green room.
reward
Yeah.
for me. It was when I got booked for that show. I was like, I just felt so reward. I felt like I got what I was working for. Like I'm a comic, at least tonight, even though it's just a guest spot or whatever the fuck. I'm able to go in there without having to check my phone and whatever. That was part of the experience for me.
Yeah, like one of the thoughts that I had, and I'd be curious to see if you had like a similar thought. Like, you know, Mitzi Shore, like how, you know, the lady who ran the Comedy Store, how she would like just note instantly that like who's a comedian and who's not, and just tell like I felt like I was one of those people that she would have passed at the store, you know? Like, I'm here because they can see that I have the ability to do this. Even though I haven't mastered it yet, like, I'm on the right path.
Right,
you know?
You got positive feedback. You were instantaneously, like, you're supposed to be on this show, Kill Tony. Like you're what they're looking for. And, like, so to get that...
Yeah.
That bump of adrenaline, that bump of praise and encouragement, that could really make you funny too. That could make you better immediately just by you getting for me. When Tony gave me positive feedback, the next day I was just like much better at. I just was more confident, and I just did way better than I would have without just that validation.
Yeah, and that's where we differ, because after that, I think I did I've done way many less mics, and the thing is like I just don't feel good about myself.
So let's get there. So explain.
So like I'll just mention like some that like, so for instance, like when I was in college, I got super drunk at a Super Bowl party, and then I challenged a guy to a fight, and then we didn't really fight, but they like took a video of it, and it went around the whole school, and like obviously, but I have like a lot of humiliating stories like that, you know, of being like a loser and an outcast, and like, and it's like if you've already convinced yourself of that, when something happens that's the opposite of that, it's like you want to be like, oh, don't they see though, like who I really am, like what a loser I really am, you know? And it just doesn't feel right. And it's like, and it's weird and I guess scary, for lack of a better term, that my natural reaction is just negative, you know? And I think part of it's the heat, part of it's the fact that I'm in a new city, like, you know, but yeah, like you kind of like grow up a loser, and maybe you've experienced this a little bit too. Like you kind of like, it's hard to like shrug that off, you know. And I need to do something about it, and I need to talk about it more, you know, like because I mean I'm a very positive person. I'm a very happy person. Like when people ask me how I'm doing, I say I'm always doing good. I got that from my grandpa. He said every day is a good day, and I like that I do that. You know, I kind of view it as like a form of masculinity to not burden people with my bullshit. You know, I'm not going to drag you down. I'm not going to like infect you negatively with something that's going on with my life. I'm going to make sure that I do whatever I can to make you feel good about yourself or feel a little bit better about your day. And those are all good qualities, but like I'm really struggling with a sadness, and like I have a problem. Something's wrong, you know? And I have like a hard time just being really transparent with that, because just like the way that I walk and like, you know, my stature, people think I'm kind of a pussy, you know? And like, it's just like, I might be like physically, but you know what? I'm emotionally, like I'm tough, you know? And it just like, it's hard for me to like open up about that. And yeah, like I just want people to like, know that like if you kind of go through like a similar thing where you have like imposter syndrome or whatever it's called, you know, you're not alone in that, you know, like, And again, it's just that, like, just a combination of like low self-esteem and like getting rid of those old ideas about yourself, and like also just again being in a new city where it's fucking hot out. Like I think the heat doesn't help things, you know. Like it's just like and man, like I'm so glad to be doing this. By the way, like just to talk about this with somebody else is good, you know. So I appreciate this. I just want to say that.
Yeah, I don't ask a lot of people on this one, and I could tell that you would be a good. I just wanted you for a reason, you know, not just because of Kill Tony.
Yeah.
But before that, that's what made me actually like ask you to seriously to do it, because like, okay, now we have something really to talk about, and I just like, yeah, he'd be good, and everything you just said and laid out. I don't have much to say other than that I relate to that a lot. Like I don't have much to add to it, because I also am going through a very similar struggle. I've been doing comedy for going on 10 years, and I still definitely have imposter syndrome. I have low self-esteem. I have depression, low motivation, and I just don't like most people.
Yeah.
So
well, I love people, you know, and I think that, like, again, that's part of what my problem is like I love people. I want to be a positive person, you know. I want like other people to feel good, but when you're that guy, you just can't like express like anything, like, you know, like I feel like I'm burdening you right now. There's that instant, like I'm gonna have that moment on the drive home where it's like, oh yeah, I whined too much to that guy, and like, you know, even though I know it's true, I know this is what you want on some level, there's gonna be like another part of your brain, my brain, where it's like, you're a burden, you were just bitching and whining, and oh man, like let's cry for John.
No, yeah, that is what this is for.
Do you have a problem with this is the wrong word, but contextualizing your struggles or comparing it with somebody else to make them seem invalid?
To make them seem invalid?
Like to make your like struggles seem invalid. Because like for me, it's like, oh man, like, oh, no, people, no self-esteem. It's like there's people over in like India that don't have fucking food.
I do.
You know, and it's like, what am I really complaining about? You know, like there's people that had their fucking dad like burn cigarettes out on their arms and shit, and it's like, what am I complaining about? You know, like they're like it. Yeah, man. Like I again, like just a lot of negative things that happened to me when I was younger just kind of like reside in my head, you know, like I'll tell a story. Like one time, like, and this is, I'm just now realizing this, like I've never actually kind of connected this experience I'm about to talk about with like what I'm struggling with, but they're very connected. So this was back in Missouri, where I did a mic and it went pretty well. And, you know, like I was talking with a few other comedians about it, and like one guy said, you know, I don't understand why you don't do this more, you know, and the other comedian was like, yeah, John, you crushed. And I was like, you know, everybody crushes, you know, like sometimes. And he just kind of like looked at me and he's like no, like not everybody crushes, like, you know, like, and it's just like I couldn't accept that. Like I honestly, like I almost wanted to like start crying, like, you know, like because it's just like I can't take a compliment like that, you know. And again, I mean, because of what we're doing right now, I'm probably making it seem a lot worse than it is. Like I don't know, because again, it's not like, oh my god, I'm so sad all the time, and like again, I don't want to make it seem like that, but since Kill Tony, it is like there, you know, like, and yeah, and I just want to be lifted from that burden, you know?
So what do you mean since Kill Tony you have this burden?
Well, just depression or this sadness.
So the Kill Tony thing, there's like this come down that happens where you got this attention and whatever, like this pop, but then all of a sudden it just goes right back to normal. It's like, no, I'm just still where I'm at. I'm still an open micer. Yeah, you realize that that wasn't the end. That wasn't really the thing that makes you a comedian. That's just one little thing, one little blip. Yeah, and that like, happened to me, kind of. I had a similar like, oh, that's now you just have to go back to shitty open mics. I don't know.
Well, no, like not quite, because I enjoy going to shitty open mics. It's a lot. Like I think it's a lot of fun.
I don't mind going to shitty open mics,
but it's more like Like, I don't know. Like, I don't deserve this. Again, I'm going to
okay.
go back to, like, imposter syndrome.
I see.
That's what it is. It's like, don't you see, like, what a fucking faggot I am? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, shit like that. Like, don't you see that, like, my jokes suck? Like, you know, like anytime, like, someone comments, I want to, like, deconstruct the joke and point out how it sucks.
I think that's actually, I mean, that's good because that means you're going to keep writing better jokes. Yeah, it's obviously better to have that than to think you're good.
Does it
you're not? There's so many people that think they're good who are really bad.
No, and okay, so I'll take it a step further. Anybody at this level isn't really good at comedy, okay? Like, let me finish, because you might not agree with 100%. Isn't really good at comedy, and when, like, open micer comics talk shit on other open micer comics, even if they're relatively maybe a little bit better or a little bit more thought out, it's like, dude, you're not at a level yet to where you think you can just shit on someone like you're shitting on them, you know? Like, and that really bothers me. Like, you know, it's like, yeah, some people maybe really struggle with it, or some people are weird, but I'm not gonna, like, point that out. I'm not gonna give energy to that. Like, I'm gonna try to be encouraging. You know, I'm gonna try to keep that to myself.
For sure, that's definitely the right thing to do. The professional thing. That's like, yeah, it's bad to talk shit about other open micers, especially if you are an open. But it's not ever good to talk shit. If you're above them, it's even worse. But like, but if that's what we do, like we talk shit, like we get jealous, like we love to point out when a lineup has comics on it that we think suck. It's like, oh, that's a horrible. I do it all the fucking time. Yeah. I look at lineups, I go, well, that's a bad. I would not want to sit through that lineup, let alone pay to see it. I just love. I mean, it's just so natural to be toxic like that. But it's so because it rubs off on you. Other people do it. Yeah. But yeah, it doesn't help you.
Yeah,
to talk shit.
It's not helpful, and it's a universal human trait. Like, we all gossip, we all do it, and there are, like, certain comedians. Like, I think Tim Warner's a good example of this, where he's been doing it 20 years, you know, and I think he should be fucking famous, you know. Like, the fact that he's, like, at some of these mics and shit, like, I get why he might talk shit. Like, you know, like, someone on that level. It's just, like, someone on our level, though, it's like, what the fuck, you know?
I get why anyone would talk shit. Yeah, I get why I would talk. I'm 10 years in, and I could be, I definitely have my own reasoning for being annoyed. I can't blame external. I can't blame the system.
Yeah.
I just know rationally that it doesn't look good. It's not true. Yeah. If you're not getting anywhere, it's probably because you aren't doing the right thing. It's because you're not funny enough. Like, it's always you that's the problem. There's always exceptions to every rule. Like, but if you're, there's fucking a reason. If you haven't figured out a way to get anywhere out of the open mic level in 10 years, it's on me.
Yeah.
It's on me to make that change.
Do you feel that way about yourself? Like, do you feel like you've been floundering a little bit because you've been doing this so long?
Floundering?
I don't know, like or like that you're kind of stuck, or that you're not where you should be, or
sometimes I might feel like that I'm behind where I should be a little bit further. Like, I should at least be getting shows regularly, but I can't really get mad at anybody but myself for not having the health, the mental health to, like, I just don't have that ability to put myself out there, so I don't really blame anybody, or even I'm not mad at myself even, because I just know my limits as a person. As a human being, I don't like to market myself.
I don't want to market myself either.
But am I funny enough to be a professional by now? Yes, at least a feature. Not a headliner.
I feel like that for you too.
I'm funny enough to be a feature. Obviously, I know that. Like, that's not something I even need.
Oh, that's still something,
man. I already know that. The only thing stopping me is my own problems, which I talk about all the time on this podcast.
No, and that's the fuck of it, man. It's like, what's the myth of the guy rolling the boulder up the hill and it just keeps going and going and going? Like, I don't know if that actually applies to what I'm about to say. Oh, I just wanted to sound smart and literate. But no, it's like, it's weird to realize that, like, your worst enemy is yourself, you know? And I think, like, what's going to make me feel that way in 10 years, or maybe even worse, where I haven't done it, is giving into that emotion and choosing those emotions to stop me from doing comedy. Like, I just had, like, the amount of open mics I've done since Kill Tony isn't high enough. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I quit, like, going to them. And there's no reason for that, you know, other than I don't feel good about myself, so I'm just going to let this die down, you know?
That's fair.
Yeah.
I think it's fine if you don't, if you need to hide out for a while until you feel like you have something new to say, or like you just have to go through a little bit. I go through that all the time, right? Take breaks.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I didn't go out all week this past week. I just wasn't feeling it. I didn't want to get out of the house. Even just leaving the house takes strength.
Yeah.
For me. Just, you know, dealing with traffic and parking. Do I really want to go through all that shit just for a mic that I'm probably not going to do well at because my attitude is dog shit? So I let it rest. I let myself, I need to take breaks. I'm a very introverted person.
Me too. Like, I'm crazy. Well, yeah, I'm crazy introverted. I like being by myself, you know. I like places like libraries where things are quiet, you know. Parties kind of stress me out. And like, the whole thing with like the mics and like not doing it, it's like, people need to rest and take a break. But for me, it was just more connected to, I think, the low self-esteem. And also the fact that I moved 8 hours to do this. And anybody who's gotten good at it has had a period of like maybe 5-10 years where they did it as much as possible. That's what I hear a lot. Anyway, and I actually want to ask you about that because I was listening to an interview with Vince Flynn. Do you know what Vince Flynn is? It was either Vince Flynn or David Baldacci, but like he's a really famous crime writer, and he has like a lot of those books that are like in airports and shit. And he was being interviewed, and he's like, you know, people who say write every day, like if you do that, it's not going to be fun anymore. And if it stops being fun, you're going to stop doing it altogether, you know? And he was just like the first person I'd ever heard say, don't write every day, you know? So it's like, is that maybe more your approach of like, don't do stand-up every day? And like,
I like to do it pretty much every day, but sometimes I have other things that I have to do that take me out of the creative minds and the performance mindset. Like my favorite thing to do is perform, stand-up, but day to day, sometimes I have to take care of like business stuff that puts me into this totally other mood. And it's like, no, I'm not in a performing. I want to be hidden away from everybody. So for me, it's physically impossible for me to do that. For me to perform every single day.
Yeah.
But most days I would like to.
Yeah.
And when I'm doing it, I want to keep doing it. Like tonight, I did the open mic and I wanted to do another one. That immediately woke up this part of me that was sleeping for a little bit. It's like, now I got to fucking do it again. Yeah. So I get addicted to it very quickly. I want to keep going.
And for me, like, that's what I love about Austin is just the opportunity to do that. Because I'm from Springfield, Missouri, where there's one club, maybe 2 a week that you can do. And it's like, I can just do this again. Like, and I feel so lucky, you know, to be here and so happy to be here for that reason. I want to ask you, who are your like comedic influences? And also I want to ask you that. And then I also want to ask you, was there a moment where you knew you wanted to be a comedian or thought you could do comedy before you started doing it?
So I don't know who my influences are. I don't really think I have any influences except maybe subconsciously.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure I definitely channel people. Like, when I when I sound like an Italian guy or whatever, I definitely copy subconsciously other comedians, but not by choice. I don't think I'm influenced. I don't know who my influences are. I just know that I've always been funny my whole life.
Who are your favorites?
My favorites are Bill Hicks, Carlin, Louis, Patrice. All the good ones, all the ones that anyone likes.
Elephant in the Room?
Nothing's fancy.
Elephant in the Room's amazing.
Oh,
Patrice? Yeah. Oh, my God. Like, I purchased that one on YouTube. I watch it over and over again. He's like, no, genius. Absolute genius. You know, that Natalie Holloway bit he has is incredible. And then Hicks, obviously I just talked about Bill Hicks a little bit earlier. I was a big fan of his when I was like 19, 20, like when I was a kid. And I've just personally like, again, I'm not saying he's bad. It's just not my thing, not what I'm going for, you know? Because it's like, that kind of irks me. It was like people who like clear the room, you know? Especially because I've talked to club owners and shit. Like, people that like try to like have a place that has
Maybe
comedy.
he is an influence now that you mentioned that, because he does set a standard. He sets like this, if you're going to be an artist, you might as well put your whole effort into it. Don't half-ass it. Because then you'll just be a hack. And so he is an influence actually, but I'm not using that. I'm not like taking that. I'm not reminded. I forget that you're supposed to try hard and like be the best.
Yeah, and it's just like that approach that I feel is like I'm smarter than the audience, kind of, you know, like that kind of shit. Like, and it's like my opinions are more important than making you laugh. That's just my, like, again, I understand that has a place in comedy. I understand like the people like Lenny Bruce and Bill Hicks have their place, and I'm not saying it's bad, but that's just like the opposite of what I'm going for. I kind of brought up influences because I realized something recently, and this was actually right before Kill Tony, because we're talking about influences. And my two biggest influencers are probably Sam Kinison and Mitch Hedberg, you know, like those are the two comedians I've listened to the most. And subconsciously, they've had an impact on me where like my jokes are like Mitch Hedberg, but my delivery is like Sam Kinison. Yeah. You know, and it's like, I don't think people have seen like those kind of jokes wrapped up in that kind of package. And and I just think it's very interesting to like what your subconscious influences are, and to have a diverse taste in comedy too, I think is also very important. Yeah, I
don't consume a lot of stand-up anymore, like unless it's somebody I really like Louis.
Sincerely?
Yeah, like I don't. Yeah, if it's somebody like that, I don't watch any stand-up. Like people, like when somebody asks me to go to a comedy show just to watch, that's not in my home. That's not in my city that I live in, that I can't get into for free. I get like appalled that they think I'm still a fan of comedy enough to pay and drive hours to see them. Yeah. Like I'm not I'm too into it to want to just sit and watch even a professional. It's like, okay, I've seen everything.
So like
it feels long.
Yeah, like
I don't know. It's weird. It's a weird position to have if you're trying to do it.
I feel like
do it that hard.
I feel like anytime I've seen a famous person, you know, do you feel like fame stops people from being good comedians? Because like what I've noticed, and I've told this to people and they're like, no, that's bullshit, John. But what I've noticed every time I've seen like a fairly famous person or a pretty famous person, like people that are in the audience are just kind of wrapped up in the energy of that person and just blown away by the fact that they get to see this person live, that the quality of their jokes doesn't matter, you know?
Yeah, if they're just famous from other shit besides stand-up, then that wanes very quickly into the set. If they're famous because of stand-up, like Bert Kreischer is famous because of podcasting, and his stand-up is very good. Like it's
stand-up.
It's a lot of storytelling. Whatever it is, people love his persona and his personality, that he could sell a joke that would normally another comic would be like, I can't make that funny.
Do you like Bert Kreischer?
I do, yeah.
Okay. Well, a lot of people
I wouldn't pay to see him.
Yeah. Well, but
he's good at he's a great he's a really good podcaster, storyteller. He makes things entertaining.
He seems like a nice enough guy.
He's an entertaining dude.
Tom
Segura is a great stand-up.
I like Tom Segura.
Tom Segura is one of my favorite stand-ups.
I like Tom Segura, and I like Theo Vaughn on the podcast. But I feel like podcasting has kind of ruined comedy at least a little bit, just because people so this is a moment that annoyed me in like Christina P's last special, where she was like, Theo Vaughn. She says, I'm Theo Vaughn, you know? And everybody's like, woo! It's like they're already fans of your fucking podcast. It's like, it doesn't matter if your fucking jokes are funny. They're going to laugh. And Bert, oh God. Okay, so can I tell you something? Bert has a bit about how he gets Anne Frank and Helen Keller confused, and I took that same concept, and I feel like I've written a way funnier joke than Bert that I've ever seen Bert do. That's just a lot better. I've only done it on stage a few times, but it's just like I feel like I'm a better comedian than fucking Bert. Like
a lot of people do.
Yeah, like I don't. And the fucking shirtless thing, dude. He's not fat. He's not that fat. He's not that fat to make it as funny as it is. Like, okay, if Ralphie May went on stage shirtless and be like, "Holy fuck, look at that obese fuck with his tits out." Like a shirt off, I'd get it. But it's like, oh man, shirt off, so fat. Like, I don't know. I don't get the gag. Other thing about Bert Kreischer, that Adam Sandler interview he did. Fuck, dude, dude, what the fuck, man?
Well, that was why it was funny. That was the value, because it was awkward and cringy, and that's why it was funny.
Dude, he got the name of the movie wrong, and then he told some story about how like Adam Sandler ditched like the party or whatever to go smoke weed with some college chicks. It's like, you dickhead. Adam Sandler's in his 50s right now. He has teenage daughters and kids. It's like, don't tell that fucking story, you dumb. Yeah.
Well, the reasons you don't like him are the reasons people like him.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I get it though.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of being a comedian or whatever he's doing is just being a fun guy, having a fun personality that people like to get into his life, and like it's not all about just writing jokes. Obviously, I don't know if.
Oh yeah, obviously that's the case with him. Yeah.
Like just writing something, thinking of something clever, doesn't mean shit for stand-up. It doesn't really
it means shit, but it doesn't mean everything. It's not the only thing that matters.
Right.
Like part of its energy, for sure.
Doesn't mean nothing. Writing something funny doesn't mean it's not going to work, but it doesn't mean it's going to work.
Yeah. Like, and again, this is all personal taste, but I just feel like I like comedy that's like maybe a little bit more thought out and structured personally.
Sure.
Yeah.
A lot. Yeah. Most people probably do.
Have we gone through everything that you wanted to talk about?
No, but that's fine. We don't have to get to everything. Those are just the topics.
Oh, no. Well, we're only two down.
Just to get into. Oh, yeah. No, we're doing great. We're doing fine. I mean, you're killing it.
I'm curious about what you wanted to ask me.
I did want to ask you about, we already covered Secret Show. We covered how you got this like depression after this post-mortem, postpartum depression from Kill Tony. But then but you just started going out to mics again.
Yeah.
And then you also talked about like going like every night, and like if you got to go as much as possible, and I don't know. I definitely think there's some truth to that.
Yeah.
You got to do it as often as you can to get better at it.
Yeah.
You're not going to get better if you do it once a week, obviously, or 2 times a week.
Yeah, slowly. Like, I think that there may be something to be said about if you do think a lot about, like, the jokes and shit that you want to do and do it maybe twice a week, like, you're going to get better, but maybe not as good as you're going to be. And that's why I've been so disappointed in myself since I moved to Austin, because on average, it's probably 2, 3, 4 times a week is when I do it, and I work a job. That's not all my fault. Like, and the store closes kind of late. So it's like I can miss it.
Have you ever done it every day, like 3 times a day?
I've done it like 3 times in one day for sure. And I've done that a few days in a row.
Consecutive. Okay.
Yeah.
Just wondering
not
because
like a whole, yeah.
Because when I do it every day as much as possible, and I make it my life, I notice that I am way better, and then it takes a long time to get back to that level. If I just do it twice a week, there's no way.
So my problem is, like, when I do it too consistently, like, do you do new material all the time, or
I do.
Yeah.
That's just me. I don't like doing material. I'm a improv guy.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
I
like to improv. Yeah. I mean, I have bits, and I guess I would do material if I had shows to practice for. I would rehearse material, but I don't care. I'm not even trying to get on shows.
Yeah.
I'm such a weirdo. I just like show up to mics. I tend to be better than a lot of, I don't know, I know I'm good enough.
Well, you're 10 years in.
To not be a fucking open micer, but I still enjoy the challenge of like trying to make the best out of a mic, trying to have fun at a mic.
And it's like and we touched on this a second ago, but like the dichotomy of like open mics versus shows, it's like I know what you mean. It's like you're probably above this level in comedy in terms of skill, but open micers are more loose and free, and you don't have to be like kind of tamed down. I get what you're saying. I feel like I enjoy open mics more than I enjoy shows.
Definitely is that. You have lower expectations, so that's part of it maybe. But shows, I guess, I mean, of course, I'd rather do shows all the time. If I could only do of course, I would rather do that. It's just getting on them. You kind of have to have an act. You can't just wing it the whole time. And I don't like having an act. Yeah. I don't like pulling out bits that I've done before. Like, okay, here's one of my bits. I don't care about that. I like in the moment shit. I like riffing on the room.
Yeah. I mean, for myself, I try to find a balance between those two. When people tell me what like they think I'm good at, they say I'm better at like the crowd interaction and coming up with shit off the top of my head. That's not what I shoot for. A lot of that's nerves, but I think I'm fairly good at it. I want to be able to like write a joke. I guess I'm sort of shooting for the opposite because it's just a sign to myself that I'm disciplined, you know? It's like if that joke goes well, it's because I put 15 minutes on the timer, I got my notebook out, and I scribbled it down, and I structured how I wanted it done, you know? And I'm proud of that. Mm-hmm. So it's like I feel like I'm better at what you're describing, but I'm shooting for.
No, it's super satisfying to write a joke and like expand it. I mean, that is the process. You have to learn to do that to kind of do the job of a comedian. You kind of have to have bits and develop them, make them better and longer. That's the job, and I do get enjoyment out of that. But if I have no shows that I'm booked for, I'm not really that hungry to do that. That's my last resort. That's if I have to.
Can I say something? Because we're talking about being weird. So I wear a hat because I have like a habit of head picking, you know? I've done it a lot during this interview, I can tell. And I wear a hat for that reason, so I don't do it. But what I end up doing is I just take the hat off and I keep playing with me, you know, because it helps me think. I scratch the top of my head. But anyway, that's what that was. I'm putting the hat back on. I see comedy pet peeves right there. I can't wait to get into that.
I don't know why I wrote that, but I definitely have. I guess I was thinking of like things that piss me off about what other people joke about.
Sure.
For me and for other, just there's anything that bugs me, like hack topics, people telling me just cheap, low-level roast jokes. What pisses you off? What's one of your comedy pet peeves?
Yeah, like, so what you just mentioned is like when people try to be controversial or talk about something taboo and the joke isn't good. Yeah. Like there's not like really a punchline. Like if there's like a joke about rape or molesting kid, like none of those things can be hilarious. I feel like they can be, but dude, if you're like an open mic comedian, you've been doing this 2 months, you probably shouldn't talk about like raping a kid or something like that. That just like, sure. It's not like, it doesn't like make me mad, but it annoys me. The other thing that just annoys me, and this might be kind of strange, is when people are too confrontational with audience members, like for talking. Yeah. So like when someone talks during your set, my mentality is it's because you're not being entertaining enough.
That's a good one.
Like if someone's talking during your set, it's because what you're doing on stage isn't fucking interesting. Like, that's on you. It's not on them. Be loud, be aggressive, be assertive, and get fucking laughs. Don't be like, excuse me, you're doing comedy show. Like, right. I get so fucking mad. Like, and honestly, like, just, like, rudeness in general bothers me. Like, there's a lot of times where, like, I get it, fucking with somebody. Like, it can be funny, but that's not really what I'm going for. Like, that does piss me off. Woman comedians make me mad. I want to fuck most of them, but let's be honest, men are superior. No, I'm just kidding. No,
that's nothing weird about that.
There is I mean, obviously, like people do like to talk shit on female comedians. And I'll say something about that. Like, I think that people misappropriate that a little bit in terms of like, oh, women aren't funny. I do maybe think that there's some truth to the fact that on the whole, like as a gender, women are probably less funny, but I feel like female comedians are a very rare breed. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, on the whole, I feel like in daily life, women are probably a little bit less funny, but I don't think that that's true for female comedians because there's usually something that motivated them to do that. And I also think that the truth is that beautiful people aren't funny. That's what it is. It's not that women aren't funny because they have vaginas. It's that they're naturally the fairer sex. You know, like they're beautiful. Like they don't need humor to procreate. You know,
Yep.
I think that's a big part of it. And yeah, and like honestly, like one of my pet peeves is like really pretty people in comedy. Like that, oh my God. So, dude, there's this fucking guy back where I'm from, man. Like, oh, dude, like when someone just throws like shade at you or like criticizes you and they're just not as good, or maybe they are as good, but that night they didn't do as well. Oh my God. Like, dude, this one thing I still fucking think about, like, I did this set at like, this place in Springfield. It went pretty well. And the guy that went up after me is this person who done stand-up a few years ago and really handsome, buff, good-looking dude, fucks lots of chicks, that kind of guy. Kind of like an aggro type dude who hadn't done it for a long time. And every night, he was one of these people, came to the open mic that we did, didn't go up, like, and just judged everybody. And so he would compliment me like quite a bit, but he would compliment me in a fucking tone that made him, I know he felt like he was doing me a big favor by saying something nice about me, you know? And I know that that's like a jaded way to look at a compliment, like, but it's like, hey, you did a good job. Like, I should give a fuck that he thinks that, you know? And like this one time, he was just like, we weren't even having a conversation. It's not like we were like this now. And we were like, it was just real. You need to slow down. Like, you know, like you need to slow down. When he just objectively did so much fucking worse than I did that night. Yeah. Like, you know, and it's just like, fuck off, man. Like how many times, you know what I wish I would have said to him? Like you telling me how to do comedy is like a retarded child on a Fisher Price telling Lance Armstrong how to ride a bike, motherfucker.
Yeah,
boom.
I've gotten that before, like condescending advice that's not even asked, that you're not asking for, and they just come up to you. It's like they think they're giving you.
No,
it's just pure narcissistic.
It's passive aggressiveness.
Well, sometimes it's aggressive, sometimes it's real aggression, just them actually being critical. But also, I don't even respect them as comics, so I don't really see it. So it just comes off as extra arrogant because I'm not even a fan of them. They've never made me laugh, but they're telling me what to do. And
it's like, and I want to clarify something. Like, if like you did that to me, if like you were like, hey, just slow down or something like that. Like, see, we've talked enough, we're friendly enough to where that's okay. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like we're
stage. You mean?
Like no, like not on stage. Like just like off stage. Like after after the set. If you were like, hey man, just slow down. Like, you know what I'm saying? Just like right off the bat. Like, it wouldn't annoy me if you said it because we've talked enough. We're friendly enough.
Slow down on stage.
Yeah, or just
advice.
any advice.
Oh, okay.
Just any fucking advice whatsoever, where you just kind of like jump into it like
There's
that.
There's a way
like,
to do that.
Yeah, even though that might not be the ideal way to do it, I wouldn't be that offended by it because I know you work hard at it.
I don't give people advice, but if I were to, I would ask, can I give you advice? Like, that's it.
Yeah.
It's not that
exactly.
hard. I hate when people, that's the thing. I don't like, because as a comic, I'm not really looking for outside advice. I already kind of have my own taste and feel for what I want, what I like. I'm very analytical of my own shit.
Yeah.
I don't really need advice. Like, I do, sometimes maybe, if it's like something technical. But if it's just about my act, if it's about my jokes.
Yeah.
Definitely not looking for advice. Maybe tip, maybe like a note here and there. But it's got to be constructive.
And I like if someone tells a joke I like and I think of a tag, I like talking about that. Like, hey, you should say, like, I know that's annoying.
Usually I won't even want that.
Yeah,
even
I know.
A tag. I could do my own tags.
I know. But that's something that I'm guilty of. But whenever I've done that, it's in a friendly way. It's not like I'm like the way that I'm talking is like I'm the teacher and you're the fucking student. Sure. It's not like that.
Tags are different.
Yeah.
Tags are usually fine. But if you're telling somebody to just not do something that you already do, that works and it's already ingrained, and like, dude, that's unwelcome.
And I think
not constructive.
There's like a narcissism that we've talked about, but it's just like advice. Like I don't have the capability of processing it and being like, oh yeah, maybe I should. It's like I'll be like, okay, yeah, good advice. But in my head, I'll be like, fuck off, man. Like,
Yeah, I've started to become more impenetrable to advice.
Yeah.
If somebody says anything I don't like, I kind of call them on it, and I go, yeah, I'm not gonna. I disagree, but thank you. Like I don't take it as if I took it for real. I go, yeah, I'm not looking for advice.
I've started to become impenetrable since my stint in the penitentiary. My butt cheeks are fucking steel. I can clench them together. Okay, that's what I was going for. But yeah, no, exactly. Like I don't take advice well. I think I'm one of the most talented motherfuckers that's ever lived. I think that I'm doing what's written for me in the stars. So listen, I don't believe in astrology per se, but I like to go down internet rabbit holes and shit. And I looked at my Mayan star sign, and you know what I am? I'm the crocodile. The crocodile is known for energy, but it's like, fuck yeah, that's what I'm supposed to be doing, man. Hell yeah. And I just have that feeling. And I asked you earlier, I don't know if we ever got into it, but like when you knew you wanted to be a comedian.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that was 2012 is when I started, and I knew I wanted to be one as soon as I did my first open mic.
Yeah. Like that was, so for me it was different. So I was a communications major, and like when you're in that kind of major, like you'll write a paper, and then sometimes they'll make you like read the paper in front of the class, right? And the first time that happened, like I just had no idea that I was having to read this paper, and I wrote a bunch of like little retarded jokes about like it was about Super Bowl ads, like deconstructing them, and they just got genuine laughs. Like these things that I was writing to get the paper done and maybe make the teacher chuckle. It's like, oh, this made it like our audience responded to it.
That's when you decided you wanted to be a comedian from that?
No, and I've always like liked comedy, but that was like a dot connected in my head. It's like, okay, I can just kind of make people laugh. Like, I can do that.
Okay, because I had that too as a kid. Yeah. I was always the class clown, but I didn't think I could be a comedian until somebody told me I could, until I did an open mic and somebody encouraged me that I could do it. Then I was like, oh, I could be a comedian? I didn't know that just because I was funny that I could do it for real. Yeah. Yeah, it's weird. Nobody told me until I
and it's not always just like being funny.
It's very niche.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess it's also wanting to do it. It's also being a performer.
I'm sorry, I'm looking at your other topics.
Yeah, you're very good at the. Yeah.
Homeschooled. I was homeschooled 1 year.
So that's true.
Yeah. No, I didn't. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I was homeschooled 1 year. Like my dad, for a period, lost his job, and like he could do it, and then he couldn't do it because he found a job, and then my grandma came down and homeschooled us, and that poor woman, man. Me and my sister were
just 1 year, yeah.
Yeah, we're such little assholes, me and my sister, and like about 6 weeks before fourth grade ended, that's when I got enrolled in Rogersville. Yep. No, I have like a lot of good memories about being homeschooled though. Like, like that time, there were times with my grandma where it was great. There was times with my dad where it was great. It was kind of bonding in certain ways. That was when 9/11 happened. Like it was that year, like I was 10 years old, and that just for that reason alone, it's like that whole day is kind of different for me because everybody else was at school and I was like at my house. It was very, I don't know. I just think that's kind of interesting. No, it was honestly like, cause I was a special needs kid, like hardcore ADHD, just doesn't do homework. I need people to like stay on me, and I think if you have that kind of kid, you shouldn't homeschool. Like I almost got held back. Like, cause I was behind, thank God I didn't, but yeah, I was pretty close, and I wonder like often, like if I was held back, you know, like what that would have done to me. Like, you know what I'm saying? I feel like I would probably have a lot more of that imposter syndrome for anything else that I did. Like, cause that's like a label. Like, you know what I'm saying? If you get held back, it's like, oh, you're fucking stupid, you know? So I don't recommend it. And anybody who I've met that's been homeschooled is kind of awkward, you know, like there's that element to it too. But I also get it, you know, like I think that, you know, there is something to be said about family and like a tight family unit and like being a part of your kid's education like that. Yeah.
Were you ever on Adderall?
Yeah.
Did it help?
Yeah. No, I'm on Adderall now.
So it still helps. Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard if you actually have ADHD, then it helps.
Yeah. Hardcore. Yeah. Like, yeah, no, like I really have it. Yeah. I was diagnosed with that at 8. And I took it periodically. Like when I was a kid, my dad wasn't really a big fan of me being on it. And I took it periodically. And then when I was just younger, I've always been the kind of guy that stares off into space. But I got into a really bad car accident when I was a senior in high school. I wrapped my car around a pole, and I had a concussion and 3 brain bleeds, like hemorrhages, you know. And after that is where like my ADD, where I was like, you know, just kind of stared off into space, kind of turned into ADHD. Like, you know, like that's when like the movement started and like this shit started, you know, like, yeah, that's like, that became more intense. And I also became like the rocking that I talked about earlier, like that was after the accident. And I think I became more creative too. Like, I think that did do something to my like brain to where like before the accident, like anytime I had like a story idea, it's like, dude, that's the fucking worst idea I've ever heard. Like, but now it's like, it's real, you know? Or now it's like it's a good idea, like yeah, and that's because of I'm a little tired. I'm sorry.
So you now have belief in your ideas.
Yeah.
Okay. But you still have the imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Which is normal. I mean, that's fine to have.
It's and I mean, like I think I'm someone that was pretty lucky, just in terms of I also like I want to talk about my grandpa a little bit because he was very influential. I don't know if I'd be a comedian if it wasn't for him because I was a very shy kid, and this was like also another moment where I think of like a defining moment for me. Like I was watching Shuffleboard with him once, you know, and like I talked about how old everybody was. I started joking around about it, you know, and I talked about how like a player had to get sidelined because they broke their hip or something like that. Or, you know, like our dad had to get put on the bench or some shit, and everybody laughed. And no, that was just like a very definitive moment in my life. And I remember my grandpa chewed me out, like not chewed me out, like nicely. He was just like, you know, not everybody there was 85, you know. Like, and that's kind of stayed with me like a little bit of like being like super confrontational or something like that. It's like, you know, not everybody there is this stereotype of what you're trying to put out. If that's do you get what I'm saying? It's like, you know, just be mindful of people's feelings, I guess is what I'm saying. No, but my grandpa was a really impressive dude. Like, he had like a 141 IQ, you know, like very bright man, like highest IQ in his whole battalion. Like, and like, I'm just like, my mom's very bright too. And I just think I'm a lucky person, you know, because I've talked about like being sad a lot this podcast. I just kind of want to bounce back. It's like, I feel like I'm very lucky and I'm very fortunate. And like, I have enough agility to not be like the greatest comedian of all time, but it's like, yeah, I feel like I'm on a good path, you know, and yeah, I just feel like I was born with lots of gifts and talents.
You like it here in Austin?
Yes, there's been several moments where, like, I'll be walking downtown and it's like it feels like a different world. You know, like I'm expanding and I'm growing. I had an experience a few weeks ago where I like talked to a first generation immigrant. You know, and it was like the first time I've ever spoken to like a first generation immigrant, like having like a real conversation, you know, and just talking about what that means. And it's like, yeah, okay, like I am actually growing as a person. I'm like leaving my bubble, you know. So yeah, I love it. I love it, man. I love it. Yeah, for sure.
Cool. So you're not jaded. You're not ready to leave for another scene anytime soon.
No.
You're enjoying it. Good. Cool. And you're gonna be continuing to obviously go to mics. Do you have any shows that are coming up?
Yeah, not shows, no. I haven't booked any shows that I remember. Actually, I need to talk to Maggie Mayfield to see if she still has me on it. Like, yeah. Oh, by the way, Maggie Mayfield hosts a challenge mic. That's good. I'm gonna throw out my favorite mics. Challenge mic's a good one. Mueller mic's good. Anderson Mill is close to my house, so I frequently go there, but they scare me, man.
Oh yeah.
And someone's gonna kick my ass if I go to
They're
Anderson
tough.
Mill. Yeah. Yeah. But no, I'm
That's
not
good of
jaded,
you to
man.
name your favorite mic. I think they all suck.
Yeah. That's cynical as fuck, bro. Cynical AF, dude.
Yeah.
Dude, I am beat, man. I'm barely keeping my eyes open,
All
man.
right, brother. Well, it was great talking to you. This has been episode 36 of the Tim Weichselbaum Show, and I had my guest Jack Horner on, and we will see you next week. I hope y'all have a good rest of your week.
Yeah, thank you so much, Tim, and
Oh,
thanks
yeah.
for watching, guys.
Absolutely.